Alright, another Abbey map. This time I'm on the STI, the Tier 9 Russian heavy tank. It's relatively slow. So it's a similar sort of phenomenon where I'm going to head over to this 2 line, and I'll talk about the decisions that we make when we get there, and talk about the other tanks and what we sort of do on this side. And what I think is a couple pivotal moments in a match like this. And so when I'm in a heavy tank, a slow tank on this side, I will usually go up this ramp over here, because playing from the north, going around this side, it's really easy to get artilleried and whatnot. So I usually go up through on this side if I'm already in a slow tank and I know I'm not going to get there in a timely fashion. We're going to have people that'll be able to spot up ahead of me. And then, so what I'm watching here is, so the WZ-120 found the Lorraine in the middle. This T-30, which is originally headed towards the 8 line, is coming back. These two guys went down the 8 line and then went up the ramp, so they can spot this side. We have a glut of most of our tanks over here. This T-54 advanced ahead, so I'm moving up to support him. Right, and we see that they have a bunch of their tanks over here, including the 3 100s on their team. So I'm going to try to push up, get an arty shadow, and see what I can see here. And then I think I take an early hit from this guy. But again, just like on the previous Abbey map, you know, over here is a kill box. This area right here is also a kill box, so I'm trying to keep them in here as much as I can. It's a little bit less on this side, because like where the E100 and the Panther II are at, it's much more difficult to hit. And I screwed up my armor right there. I wasn't angled at all to this E100. It's still difficult to bounce 330 heat, but without a pen, I'm sorry, without proper angling, there's no chance for me to block that. Now, something really critical happens here. This T-54 crosses this entryway right here, and the reason why this is important is because that now I'm basically one shot for this E100, so on his next reload, he can just try to push around and kill me, and then once I die, then this side would end up being in jeopardy. So inadvertently, I'm guessing, he drove across over here, and he basically starts occupying this E100's attention. Now you'll notice that the E100 is still staring at me. He's loaded, but he's still staring at me, and then eventually he'll look over at the T-54 and take a shot. And so basically what that did, there were a couple things. The T-54 basically soaked that shot for me so that this E100 didn't just push around and shoot me. But what he could have done differently is that he could have just been back over here, and then only the E100 could have shot him, and he would have saved a lot of health, and we basically could have gotten a 4-for-1 on him, where I could have gotten 2 shots off on him, and he probably could have gotten, you know, like at least 3 or 4 shots off on the E100 for the E100's 1 shot. And so that would have been a much better exchange, but he had difficulty penning the E100 from that side anyways. So it's unfortunate, but again, that's sort of a key move, that basically he's inadvertently sharing health with me so that we can both get shots in on this E100. And then I gotta try to save him if I can. I gotta dodge this shell. And then our E4 has been rolling up here the whole time, but he doesn't pull forward enough to kill the E100, so I'm not able to kill the E100 fast enough to save our T-54. This E4 is late to the ball, this E100 is late to the ball. Most of these guys actually are a little bit too slow in reacting on this side. And it's kind of understandable why they don't want to push down on the one line, because they do have an E100 there, but they pretty much stay back, and that sort of results in them not really doing a whole lot. By the end of the game, I deal more damage in my STI than every single other tank on this flank combined. Mostly because this entire time I've had my gun in the game. And then this E4 is crowding me a little bit, and so, see, he's about to drive into its crossfire from these two E100s, but he doesn't realize that. That E4 ended up doing 0 damage in this game. And then the E100 has a really weak lower glacis. Our Foch 155 is reloading, so I'm just backing off, and I'm seeing what this E100 is going to do to react. I know that there's an M103 over there. There was an M103 over there, but he's not much of a threat for me from that angle. I try to shoot him through that little gap there, but apparently that little gap is solid, and he tries to shoot me back through that little gap, so the net gain is to my advantage. And then now he backed out into that one line where he can be shot in the back. And then so the rest of this is pretty much just mop up. But the key point that I want to make is that, you know, one of the basically game-changing points in that map was the fact that our T-54 moved forward and occupied attention when he had health. He could have done it in a much more safe fashion, but him just getting to the other side it's not like a super broad flank, but he was out wide enough that those guys couldn't just focus on my corner. And that basically made it so that I could continue dealing damage. And he could have finagled it to where he covered me and also was more protected himself, but he didn't. He was too far forward, so he was getting shot by multiple tanks. And then I think the rest is just mop up. I have, like, my driver got killed twice, so I'm like limping around the rest of this match, the rest of this short match. And then so that's I think it's really important. Like I think it's fine that those guys didn't push down here, but I think they needed to occupy them a little bit more, because that E100, we basically had two E100s on this corner that were only paying attention to the two lines, so they weren't really feeling any pressure from the one line. Our Artie did a good job, because they basically, anybody that was on this side, our Artie was able to hit and take care of, which is always good. And basically I was able to deal out a lot of damage even after I was low health, because, you know, we eventually had enough tanks over on that area. And so if you look at the breakdown of the damage, we actually ended up doing a lot of damage there, even in a tier 9, mostly because we made the majority of our shots count. And again, it's fairly easy. If you hit a E100 in the lower glacis with the STI top gun, it's going to go through. Problematically, our artillery did pretty well, but like the E100 that was on the same line as us did 800 damage. The 5120 that was on the one line did 400 damage. The 704 who got the killing shot on the E100 on the one line did 1200 damage. And then the Foch 155 did 2400 damage. You'd like to see a little bit more out of your 10s in a game like that, particularly when you sort of dominate that 2 line. You want to see more damage out of the big guns than that, but it was enough to win. And so that's just some sort of more little wrinkles and details on not just Abbey's strategy, but small tactical things like sharing HP, even if you don't do it on purpose, that are really important to the game. So I hope that was informative, and thanks for watching.